Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Stocks All Day with Dr. O'Day. Today's episode is a little bit different than I typically do. This is actually a little bit of a warning as to kind of people's main portfolios. I decided to actually sell out most of the ETFs in my main portfolio, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about why. As always, this is not investment advice. I'm not a professional investor. This is just what I'm doing, and I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. If you decide to follow the things that I'm saying in this video, you're doing so at your own risk. The stock market is volatile, it's dangerous, and a lot of money can be had, but I'm not liable for any gains or losses that you incur by doing the things that I'm doing in this video. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and let me know if there's any content that you'd like to see coming up. So this video is going to be a little bit different than my typical video. In my main portfolio, I am kind of most invested in Vanguard's mid-cap ETF as well as Vanguard's total stock market ETF, so VO and VTI. And basically, I have a 75%, 25% split on those two ETFs with my main amount of money. And what I do in that portfolio is I value average and I dollar average that as well. And what I've been able to do with that portfolio is have about a 13.7% increase over the last 5 years. I'm actually going to post a video today on that strategy, but I wanted to get this video out quickly, and before you tune out of this video, I want to talk about something that's kind of important, that caused me to sell out everything today. So again, I track kind of three main indicators. The first is I track the stock price compared to the 50-day moving average. I also track the 200-day exponential moving average on my other stocks. I'm less concerned with that here because it's less about the individual day trading and more about these kind of overarching trends. But again, I sold out of this stock today, and it's not just because of this tiny little decrease here that we're seeing up at the top. We've seen a pretty steady increase of the stock market as a whole. Obviously, VO and VTI benefited from that as well, and we've seen that since kind of coronavirus, after that major decline. But what's drawing me to sell today is we just had a MACD crossover, which is one of my sell signals, and we can see that typically when that happens, we see a little bit of a decrease, things like that. But what's kind of drawing my attention today is we also had the RSI here had a sell signal as well. So the way that this RSI works is that when it goes above 70, the stock is considered overbought, and the sell signal is when it comes back down below 70. And so that happened just the other day, and then just yesterday was when we had the MACD crossover into today. And when two of these things happen at once, this can signal a fairly drastic decline. And let me just kind of trace this back on the VO. So this is VO. I'll also show you that this exact same thing happened on VTI as well. So the Vanguard total stock. So the last time that this happened was back here in September. So we saw that the RSI climbed above 70, came back down. The MACD crossed over as well, going below that signal line. And we did see a decline here. This isn't it's not a huge decline here. The stock price went from, let's see, the high here was 185. It dropped down over the next little bit as low as 168. So 185 to 168, I mean, that's about a 9 to 10% decline right there. And that's nothing to sneeze at over the course of less than a month. So if we track this back a little bit further, another time that this happened was back in June. So this happened where we had the sell indicator on the RSI here, we had the sell indicator on the MACD here on the 11th. we saw a little bit of a decline and then things picked back up. So nothing too bad happened on this one. This would have actually, it wouldn't have been a bad thing to stay in on that particular one. And yeah, we would have actually, if we would have gotten out, we would have missed a little bit of a downturn, but then also a little bit of an upturn. Not too much of an upturn though. It's by the time it all happened, by the time it was all said and done, we ran up into this other one, which then dropped it below where we had sold at here. So this wasn't a bad thing that we sold there if you went ahead and sold there. But the big thing was that this happened and my two signal indicators signaled a sell-off. We had an RSI hit here, could have sold right there. We also had a 50-day moving average crossover that indicates a sell, as well as the MACD hitting again right there. Had you done this, you would have missed the whole decline of coronavirus. That was a huge decline that we could have missed, and then we could have bought back in when the RSI signaled buy, the MACD signaled buy, and we could have taken advantage of this whole thing. Let's go back then to no, November of 2019 or 2018, sorry. I remember that there was a pretty significant decline in November of 2018, and that kind of continued. This was, a little bit of a big decline there. We had a MACD crossover there, a sell signal there, and we could have missed this fairly substantial decline as well during that time. Let's take this. So let's take this back to 2008. So kind of the big crash in 2008. And let's see here. So let's go into 2008. Let's zoom in a little bit here. So let's start a little bit before 2008 and let's just look for the signals. So we had a MACD crossover here, soon followed by a 50-day moving average crossover. If you sold there, you would have gotten back in theoretically right about here. Let's see, so if we track this a little bit further, you might have sold right there, you might have gotten right back in right there, but then eventually you see a crossover there with the RSI crossover right there that did get above 70 right there and come back down. So if you would have sold right there like you should have, then you would have missed this little bit of a decline. You could have actually bought back in right here and then had not very much happen, but then the MACD signaled to sell right there, the 50-day moving average signaled to sell right there, and then you would have missed the decline in 2008. And so there was a lot happening. You would have missed this little decline, you would have got back in, you would have missed this little decline, and then you would have sold out before you missed this big decline in 2008 as well. So these indicators are nothing to sneeze at. It's very important that we take a look at these, and this has me worried about the immediate future, because we're having that crossover here, we're seeing the RSI right here. Me personally, I pulled all my money out of those two stocks. Let me actually show you as well this exact same thing in VTI. So let's go ahead and take a look at VTI. We saw that same MACD crossover right there. We saw the same RSI kind of coming back down below 70, so it went just above 70 and then came back down from 70. And very similarly, we saw this same kind of trend in September with VTI, and we saw that decline from about 181 down to the low was what, 160, 162. So again, this is nothing to sneeze at. As always, this is just what I'm doing. It's not investment advice. I'm not responsible if you gain or lose money. You're welcome to tell me and say that things worked out for you if you do win money or gain money from this. But again, I'm not liable. Investing in the stock market, even selling in the stock market poses risks. So keep all of this in mind. But this is why I personally decided to sell out of both of these, at least today, until I get a signal that I should buy back in. And it's also kind of drastically inflated by the fact that we've had a pretty substantial pretty substantial increase since November 1st. So we saw, kind of October 30th, we saw the stocks were about 168, and we've gone all the way up to 205 here in the last little bit. I guess not quite to 205. That was in another stock that I was looking at, but we came all the way up to 192. We're up about 12% right now on these funds in the last month or so, and so it's about time for this stock to come down, come back to earth a little bit. It might even come back even harder than that. So we'll see what happens. All this talk around the stimulus checks and things like that, all these worries, coronavirus blowing up, election type of stuff. We just don't know what's going to happen. I've been keeping an eye on these stocks. These are kind of how I keep an eye on the health of the overall market and where the overall market is going, is by watching kind of these VTI and then kind of the main indicators like the Dow and the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. But this is a little heads up to me that things might be going south in the next little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that. I went ahead and sold. You're welcome to sell as well. And keep an eye out for the video that I'm about to post on my own trading strategy with regard to value average investing and dollar cost average investing utilizing VTI and VO. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you all for checking back in, and please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Let me know if you'd like to see anything coming up. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.